Good morning, welcome back to my channel, welcome to a brand new video. How's that for a background? I cannot tell you how much I love this pattern. It's literally just cheap curtain panels from Temu, but I cannot tell you how much it makes me happy. Whether I'm actually visible within this blur of pattern is anybody's guess. I nearly put on a leopard print top as well. I mean, in fact, it has got a bit of leopard print further down, but I did think I might blend completely into the background, just be a floating head. Welcome back to my channel, welcome to today's video, which is, oh no, see, don't split. Let's put the wheel of the chair on them. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video, which is a Q&A. I do one of these round about this time every year, round about October, November time. I do a quick Q&A, mainly because over the year, I sometimes get some new viewers and they don't necessarily know who I am and what I'm about. So I think, oh, well, you know, we'll do a bit of a Q&A and fill people in. That gap in that curtain is really annoying me. Bear with. You wouldn't believe how long it just took me to find a safety pin. Anyway, what was I saying? Before the gap in the curtain started to annoy me. Every now and again, I get a new viewer and they don't necessarily know my background, who I am, what I'm all about. And so I try and pop in one of these videos once a year to answer any questions. And sometimes the questions are about me and the things that people don't know. And sometimes they're just very random. So I've got screenshots on my laptop that I took off my phone from Instagram. And then I've also got the post that I actually put up on the YouTube community hub here for people to answer. Now let me see if I can find that and get that up. Okay, so I've got them all up in front of me. I've actually shut Molly out of the room. Darcy's asleep on the bed and I've shut Molly out so that they can't have one of their wrestling matches, which they have regularly as soon as I start recording. I know it's very entertaining for everybody, but I can't actually get a word in edgeways around them. First question then, and I think they're going to come up in like reverse order, so if you put your question up very recently, you might get yours answered first, is from Julie Otley. And her question is, when you were a teenager child, what band or pop star posters did you have on your wall? She says, I love your channel. I can relate to everything you say. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. My first set of clippings and things on my wall when I was very young, under the age of 12, was actually, I used to cut those bits out of the Daily Mail, which was the cartoon strips. So it would be Andy Capp and the big dog, what was the dog called, Marmaduke and stuff like that. So they weren't really pop stars at all. When I first got into music, a little bit later on, I was a massive Aha fan. I was a huge Aha fan. I had the leather wrist straps. Oh God, Morten Harket. I would have died for Morten Harket quite happily. I also had the Eurythmics on my wall. I wanted to be Annie Lennox. I wanted to look like Annie Lennox. She was my dream of how I should look. The ultimate rock chick, Annie Lennox, with the bleach blonde flat top. I had a flat top, but it wasn't bleach blonde. So yeah, Aha, Tapao, I really liked Tapao. So those are the people I had on my wall. I wasn't really into, even though it was the right era for new romantics, I wasn't really into people like Duran Duran and stuff like that. That wasn't my thing. Obviously, you knew all the songs, you knew all the music, but it wasn't my bag. I liked Tapao, I liked Roxette, I liked, like I said, the Eurythmics. I loved Aha, and Michael Jackson by default, because my best friend was an absolute Michael Jackson obsessive. And so you kind of, I could tell you all the words to all of Michael Jackson's music now, purely by default, because if you were listening to music with Rachel, you were listening to Michael. Caroline Everett asks, did you get a Patterdale by design and planning, or did the madness just land on you unexpectedly? So Darcy is our Patterdale and she actually belongs to Natalie. And it was kind of design and planning because Buddy, one of our old dogs, was a Patterdale Cross. He was a Patterdale Staffy Cross. And so we had already owned that breed. We knew about the kind of size they would grow to and stuff like that. When Natalie was looking for a new dog, we had a specific size of dog that we were prepared to have. Her previous dog, Kai, was a Husky Collie Cross, and he was an absolute delight, but he was huge. And his favourite place was in the doorway. Whatever doorway you were trying to get through, that was where Kai was standing. And he was big. He was a big old boy. So I said to Nat, I don't think we can have massive dogs. I think we need to start getting smaller on the doggage. So when she was looking for puppies, this litter of Patterdale puppies came up in Swansea. And also within our price range, because we didn't have much money at the time. So these are from a farm. And he was really just, he wanted to move them on. He wasn't breeding to make the money. He didn't want to sell them. He didn't want to give them away because he wanted to be sure that they were going to homes where people wanted to own a dog rather than getting a free dog for fighting bait or whatever. You know, he wanted to know that people wanted to own the dogs, but he wasn't in it to make a load of money. And so she was within our price range. And she's been an absolute joy, I have to say. Everything you hear about Patterdales, about them being absolutely manic, I mean, obviously they do play a lot, but she's very sleepy girl. She sleeps a lot. So she is actually not the madness that you might expect from the breed. She's an absolute beautiful girl. Cinnamon482 has a very interesting question. They say, "Hi Carla, really enjoy your channel, reading off the laptop. My question is, was there a crossroads in your life that you think back on and wonder what would have happened if you had made a different choice?" Bit deep, I know. I blame hitting 60 in the darker evenings. Best wishes. I think the thing is that every day in your life is a crossroads. Every single decision you make every day takes you down a path or a road that you may not have gone down otherwise, you know. So when you decide whether to go to Tesco's or Sainsbury's that day, and then on the way to Tesco's, you may be involved in a car accident, which you wouldn't have been if you went to Sainsbury's, or things like that. So many things that you look back on, God, if I'd made a different decision that day, everything would have been different. I think one of the major crossroads in my life was not a decision I made. It was a decision my mum made when... Sorry, Darcy's now dreaming. If you can hear a noise in the background, it's Darcy dreaming. When my mum met and married my stepdad as was, although he adopted me, so he became my legal father, his job moved him down south. And so that was a major crossroads in my life because we moved from a completely different part of the country. We were in the Midlands in Market Harbour and we moved down to Bristol. And so that would have been completely, and if that decision hadn't been made, my life would have been a completely different thing. But that wasn't a decision I made. I have made many decisions in my life that have had long-reaching effects, but there aren't any where I look back and go, I should have taken the other path. There aren't any where I go, you know, I should have done that instead. I don't think. Because you go where life takes you. Thing is that life isn't like a road, is it? We talk about crossroads and things like that. Life isn't really like a road because roads are laid down and people choose which direction the roads are going to go in. Life is more like a river. The river finds its own way. If you place an obstruction in the river's way, it will find a different route, and that's when you end up with lots of little tributaries and side streams and trickles, and so life is far more like a river finding its own way than it is like a road. That was a bit deep, wasn't it? Fluorescent 1690 says, "Hi Carla, love your weekly waffles and going back to watch old ones. Are you going to do memberships?" I have never really felt that what I offer is worth asking people for money for. So with Patreon or memberships, what you do is you say to people, if you pay X amount per month, I will promise to give you value to that amount. And I've never felt that what I do is really worth putting that monetary value on. I don't feel like I could promise to deliver. One of the things that worries me is that my pathological demand avoidance would cause me to immediately resent the content that I had to produce to give you what you paid for. If I offered memberships, and I said, oh, it's $6.99 a month, I think it is for memberships, and for that you will get 2 exclusive videos a week that don't go on the main channel, and you will get this and you will get that. As soon as I had done that, I would immediately resent having to produce that content, which is very bizarre. I already struggle with my demand avoidance with the fact that I have given myself a set YouTube schedule. I already struggle with the fact that I've got to put the videos up on the right day. Now, I've done this to myself because the YouTube algorithm likes you to have continuity and regularity. It likes you to put certain things up on certain days. It likes you to have a certain pattern. And if you can conform to that pattern, you get more visibility and the algorithms like you better, essentially. So I've done this to myself knowing that this is a fact, but I already struggle with it. I already struggle with, oh God, I've got to have a video ready for Friday. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I don't like having to got to. I prefer fluidity in my decision-making process. I prefer to go with the flow, as we were saying in the previous question. I prefer to go where the river takes me rather than go on a set path. And so I think if I offered memberships, I would very soon regret it, and I would also not provide what I was promising. I think I would let you all down. Carolyn H2P asks, what is your connection to Lexi? Love your videos, you're such a hard worker. Do you ever relax? I do relax. I relax far too much. I think this is the problem. I don't film myself relaxing. I film myself looking very, very busy, and then I do 4 hours sitting down doing nothing and don't film that because that's boring for you guys. So don't be fooled into thinking that I never do nothing. I do nothing at times. My connection to Lexi, I wasn't sure which Lex you meant. So I have my friend Lex in Wales, who is Bad Biscuit on YouTube and does jewellery and stuff like that, and is a reseller. And then there is little Lexi. And sometimes when people are talking about Lex Bad Biscuit, they call her Lexi, even though her name is Lex. She does not answer to Lexi. Her name is Lex, L-E-X-X. not Lexi, but people do get mixed up and call her Lexi. And so I'm not sure which one you're referring to, so I'm going to answer both. My connection to Lex, Bad Biscuit in Wales, is that we met through Reselling. We were both going to go to one of the Hitchin meetups organised by Nick and Andrea. And because Lex doesn't live far from me, and obviously we had chatted in live streams and side chats and stuff like that, I said, I'll drive you. And that's how we met, and we built a friendship from that starting point. And she's a wonderful friend to have, because of all the people I've known in my life, I've never met anyone like Lex for never slating anyone. If you are her friend, she will boost you. If you are a family member, she will boost you. She takes so much joy in the achievements of her friends and family that she is just such an uplifting person. She's a wonderful friend to have. And so I'm very grateful to the Reselling community, the YouTube community, for the friendships that I've made. And Lex is one of the friendships that I treasure. And I know people think we're not friends anymore because they don't see us making content together. But she is also one of those gorgeous friends where you can pick back up where you left off. So both of our lives are in quite different places at the moment with the things that we are busy with. But the friendship is still there and is still solid. And I know that if I saw her tomorrow, it would be exactly as if I had seen her yesterday. And we are getting together soon. We are. So that's big Lex, in case that's the Lex you meant. But if you meant little Lexi, she's not this small. She's not pocket sized. But if you meant Lexi, the young girl who you see in my videos, Freya's sister, then Freya and Lexi are the daughters of one of Natalie's very good friends, and she has known them. She's been in their life since pretty much birth. She's known Freya since, I think Freya was about 2 years old, and she's known Lexi since Lexi was in the womb. And so to them, she is the equivalent of an auntie. Although she's not a blood relative, she is like an aunt. They are like her nieces, and they are very close. She has poured all the love and support into them that she would have poured into any nieces or nephews or children of her own. Let me let that dog out of the room. But I'm sorry if the shots changed, by the way. I had to move the camera. And by default, that makes them my honorary granddaughters. They're the closest I've got to grandchildren. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful because you get the joys of grandchildren without any of the responsibilities. Jacqueline Smith 3167 asks, have you any regrets? I think we all have regrets. Most of my regrets are from relationship choices that I made. But I don't think I carry them around as a burden of regret. They're just, oh dear, he was not what I thought he was going to be. I'm not crying, by the way. I've just got a tickle on my face. Okay, she wiped away a tear at that moment. No, she didn't. She wiped away a hair. So yeah, I think we all have some regrets. I have one major regret in life, which I've spoken about in videos before. I can only speak about it in a vague way because it relates to a very real person from my childhood who is still alive and kicking, and I don't want to hurt anyone, but she was in a situation which, if we had had more adult viewpoint on, we would have seen that she needed more support and help. I'm talking about someone who I was friends with in my teenage years, and the things that should have been very much red flags and she should have had more support and help with didn't resonate with us enough because we were kids ourselves and we didn't realise the importance of what we were seeing. And so I have very real regrets that I could have been a better friend during that time if I'd had more maturity and been able to recognise what was happening in front of my eyes. That's my major life regret, I suppose. Deborah Wales says, hi Carla, you seem to have a very close circle of friends. How did you meet each one and do you ever fall out? Good, we'd be all day, wouldn't we? So I suppose when you talk about my close circle of friends, you talk about the nucleus of friends for whom we all celebrate birthdays together. So we'd be talking about Tammy, Tamsin, Tina, Tracy. We've got 2 Debbies. Tina is the oldest friendship out of that batch, and I have known Tina since Anthony was about 2.5. I lived in a flat in Hembury and Tina moved into the flat next door, and this was the 3-storey walk-up flats where you have 6 flats per building, 1 central staircase, six flats, and so on each floor your front door is probably about 10 foot from the other person's front door. Tina and I both lived on the top floor, and so we had a gate across the main staircase so that our children could run around and play in the hallway without falling down this concrete flight of stairs. We became good friends from that, and then when Tina moved to this road and she knew that a council house was becoming vacant that I would be able to apply for, she let me know. I applied for this property and I've lived here nearly 30 years. So Tina and I have a friendship that is 32 years old, and we have never fallen out. We've never fallen out in that time. Debbie lives across the road, and so I met her when I moved into the street. So I've lived in this house 28 years. So Tina I've known for 32 years or so, Debbie 28 years. And again, I don't think Debbie and I have ever fallen out. I don't tend to fall out with people. If a friendship isn't working, I will gradually bring it to an end, but I don't tend to have rows and fall out with people. I don't have time for that. Don't really have time. I have had a couple of rows in my life. I've had a couple of things that have, I've had a couple of friendships that have ended in a row, but generally it's not been my choice to have it end that way. So that's Tina and Debbie. And then the next longest one is Tammy. I met Tammy when I worked for Ann Summers. I worked for Ann Summers for many years as a team leader, and I recruited Tammy. Firstly, I did a party for her, and then I recruited her onto my team. And very shortly after I recruited her onto my team, she became suddenly homeless. And so that was when she moved in here for the first time. I had not known her very long at that point. I think I'd probably known her about 6 weeks. And I think she said to me, I'm not going to be able to carry on doing this job because I don't know where I'm going to live. I'm going to be homeless. And I was like, well, you come and stay with me. And so she did. And so that's how that friendship was born. So I've known Tammy since 2005, so 20 years this year. In fact, 20 years next month. No, I've known her 20 years since the summer of this year. Next up would be Tamsin, who I also met through Ann Summers. I did a party for Tamsin and we struck up a friendship. We've been friends for probably about the same time as Tammy, probably about 20 years. And then, who have I done? I've done Tamsin, Tammy, Tina, Debbie. Tracy is someone who I met through Tammy. Tammy got a job working at a social club and Tracy was a regular at the club, and so that's how I met Tracy. I've known Tracy about 10 years now, I suppose, maybe. It's very difficult to be sure because there's COVID in the middle of that, and so COVID made everything go, timey-wimey, and you don't know anything anymore. But probably about 10 years, maybe. Debbie Cox, I have probably also known for about 20 years, and would have met her originally through Ann Summers. So Ann Summers was a great time in my life. If this is a concept that you have no knowledge of, Ann Summers parties were a bit like Tupperware parties. You would go to people's homes, you would display the stock from the company, and people could buy and book for the parties. But because Ann Summers is lingerie and adult products, obviously they were quite raucous, fun parties. It was a very fun environment and a very fun business to work for. And I enjoyed it very much for very many years. So yeah, so that's how I met my close circle of friends. And no, I don't fall out with people. Why would we fall out? They're good people. They're good people. You don't fall out with good people. So I suppose those are the people you mean when you say my close circle, but I have lots of other friends, so I'm very fortunate. I'm very fortunate in my friendships. Very fortunate indeed. I may not be rich in life, but I'm rich in my friendships. Katie Adams, this is an interesting one, completely unrelated to life in general. A reselling question. When you sell electrical items such as hairdryers, should they prove to be faulty and hurt a buyer? Who is liable if the buyer chooses to take action? It's a very interesting question. I had to Google it to be sure. I thought I knew the answer. I had to Google it to check I was right, and the answer is me. If I sell a hairdryer and it blows somebody up, I am liable for selling it to them, which is why you should either list things as untested, which doesn't really cover you, but at least it alerts the buyer that you don't know if there's any issues or not, or you should test them very thoroughly and be sure that they are safe. Okay, there's the answer to that one. Kim Aston says, "Hi Carla, I've followed you for a long time. I know I don't know you, but you're my kind of person. You say things as they are. You don't have a lot of money like me, but you give out so much to charity and help others around you. I've not got anything to ask you, just to say keep doing what you're doing. Thanks for your vlogs." Thank you, Kim. Megan Ortiz says, "Hi Carla, I've been watching you since 2020 and you are my favourite channel. I truly appreciate how you have taken care of your family and friends and you seriously hustle, such a hard worker. You are the personification of keep on keeping on and you are such a good example. You'll swell my head. You are so relatable and approachable, wonderful qualities. I have recently been enjoying watching the old waffles from 2019 and 2020. And so my question for you is, does Lex still come and visit much? I haven't seen you video any in-person visits with her in a while. It's always fun to see you together with both her and Caroline. As I said earlier on, Lex and I are still great friends. We did get together in the summer. I went over to Cardiff and we did the Science Museum. I don't know if you saw that vlog or not, but we had it was a fantastic day. Really enjoyed myself. Lex hasn't been here to stay for a while. So at one point, Lex was able to stay in the spare room and then we have no bedrooms left. And so Lex was sleeping on the sofa. Now, I don't think our sofa is very comfortable to sleep on for first off. It's a manual recliner at two ends, but not in the middle. So it kind of goes like that. There's a kind of a lump in the middle where the two side seats sink a bit. So I don't think it's very comfortable to sleep on. So I was like, oh, no, I don't want Lex to sleep on the sofa if it can be avoided. And then at one point we had 2 very young puppies in the house who were not very well house trained, and they would mess in the front room in the night. And I did not want anyone to come and stay and be woken up with a poo 4 foot from their nose on a puppy pad, you know. And so we kind of got out of the habit of let's come in to stay. And also her life changed. She had a very sudden house move, and lots of other stuff have gone on. And now she goes away to France a lot. She goes to Lyon on sourcing trips. It isn't the right time at the moment for people to come and stay here. But we are still friends and we do still get together. Mary Smith, again, no question. Just want to say I love your videos, especially the waffle. You have me howling laughing, so thank you. You're very welcome, Mary. Thank you for watching. Ali Star 4, with Christmas being around the corner, do you and your family have any traditions that you do every year? What does your Christmas day look like? Love your videos. I have a Baileys every Christmas Eve. After that, I go to sleep. Only one Baileys. I don't drink alcohol all year round. Literally, the only alcohol that passes my lips is a Baileys on Christmas Eve. I have quite a big one. I'm quite generous with it. And because I'm quite generous with it, then I crash out and go to sleep. So that's my Christmas tradition, is I have a Baileys. I used to have it when I was doing the veg, but I don't always do the veg on Christmas Eve anymore. But I always have a Baileys Christmas Eve. We do stockings Christmas morning, regardless of the fact that we are all fully grown adults. We do stockings Christmas morning, usually in my bedroom. And we always have croissants with ham and cheese for breakfast on Christmas morning. The problem with that is that as we've all got older and we get up a bit later, sometimes we're not having breakfast till 10:30, and then we want lunch at 2. And Debbie always comes over on Christmas morning to exchange presents, and that stems back from the years when both of us were kind of underappreciated mums, and if we didn't buy each other presents we wouldn't get any. So Debbie and I built a tradition where we see each other Christmas morning. But that's about it. We don't really our Christmas Day is much the same as everybody else's, really. We get up, we open presents, we eat ham and cheese croissants. One of us goes over to fetch Mum. Usually Anthony at the moment goes over and fetches Mum. Mum comes over here, we have dinner. We may have random waifs and strays around the table. Anyone who hasn't got anywhere to go for Christmas dinner, come to us. A couple of years we've taken a Christmas dinner down to Ryan's mum because she doesn't go out. And then we all doze in front of the telly until Mum says, oh, I should go home. And then we take Mum home, and that's it. Boxing Day, I usually go over to Mum's. The kids will probably be working, but I usually go over to Mum's and take bits and pieces over there and have that for lunch. Hannah asks, do you sell on Vinted? I do not. I keep meaning to, but I have not got around to it yet. It's learning something new. I'm not very good at learning new things. I don't want to get started on learning new things. Sorry if you can hear my stomach, by the way. It's rumbling like mad. Jacqueline Green says, hi, Carla. If you had your dream house, would you have any other animals as well as the doggies? If I had my dream house, I would probably have more dogs. I don't know if I would have other animals. I would not want any animals that didn't want to live with dogs harassing them. So, for example, wouldn't it be lovely to have chickens? Molly would be a nightmare with chickens. Molly would be a horrific nightmare with chickens. Bella would be awful with chickens. So I don't think I would necessarily have other animals. It might be nice to have a donkey or something in a paddock. Maybe a rescue donkey or something like that. Something that wouldn't be bothered by dogs, something that wouldn't find dogs annoying. I don't know. But yeah, I would probably have more dogs is the answer. Karen Reader says, hi Carla, what was your best ever car boot sale find to date? Also, random question, what was your favourite colour? Thank you for all your videos, I watched them all. I may have to make this into more than one part video, by the way. I feel like it's getting very long and I haven't even got onto Instagram yet. My best ever car boot find, I've never found anything that's been worth an absolute fortune. I've found a couple of things that have been worth over 100 quid. A couple of folio books have done well. A couple of times I've found folio books that have done well. I found some ballet pictures that sold for about 150 quid once. There isn't anything that stands out as, oh my God, that's my big one, you know. But who knows, one day I'll find a diamond necklace. What was it? My favourite colour. At the moment, my favourite colour is blue, but it's not always that way. My favourite colour used to be purple. For years it was purple, and then it moved into hot pink. I really love a hot pink. There isn't a hot pink in these that I can show you, like a really vibrant fuchsia pink. But at the moment, my favourite colour is blue, and it's probably around about this shade. This shade of blue is my favourite colour at the moment. I don't know why it changes. Tracy says, I'd like to know where you get your baking ideas from, and the answer is the internet. So TikTok, I watch a lot of baking videos on TikTok, on Instagram, and Facebook Reels. And yeah, but a lot of times in the kitchen I just go, I wonder if that will work, and sometimes it doesn't. Moira Instant says, would you ever consider a holiday in Australia? I would love a holiday in Australia, but the flight is off-putting to me. With my size and my leg issues, I would find that, I think it's a 14-hour flight or something, I don't know. So that would be an issue for me. But around the world cruise that took in Australia would be nice. Secret Carper says, if dreams could come true, what would you dream? Love the waffle, my favourite part of the week. If dreams could come true, what would I dream? I would dream a big-ish house in the country. Not massive, but big-ish. With enough room for people to come and stay, and enough room for each of us to have our own space and not be annoyed by other people's mess, and enough room for me to have different spaces to work in without having to make all the space work for all of the things. That would be my dream. Just a big-ish house, and somewhere semi-rural. I want to be on the edge. I want to be the outskirts of a city where I can get to all of the conveniences, but also have peace and quiet and nobody looking over the fence. Mr. Jack 007, have you tried the new gingerbread Pepsi? No, I have not, and I will not, and you cannot make me. Pepsi Max, unadulterated, as it is, without any flavourings. Thank you very much. The raspberry was just about bearable. The cherry is an abomination. Don't even start me on the ginger. What kind of foul fiend came up with the ginger? The mango I didn't like. The lime is awful. Just Pepsi Max. Just Pepsi Max with no adulteration. Gingerbread Pepsi, the very notion. Sue6083, hi Carla, just wondering if you'll be going on a cruise again, and if so, where to? We have a cruise booked for 2026. It is the back end of 2026. It's over a year from now. It is a long one, which is why we haven't anything else booked in between, and we're having to pay for this one. It's been a combination of circumstances that have forced us to book this longer one. And it will use up an awful lot of my holiday entitlement from work, and it's costing more than I like to pay. So it's pretty much all we can afford for next year. If something wonderful happens and I come into some money, then we might get a little, oh, I look like I've got headphones. I look like Princess Leia. Then I might get a little holiday squeezed out of it somewhere in May. But otherwise, it's nothing until cruise next year, but it's going to be a good one. Hopefully. Julie R says, hi Carla, I know you don't talk about your day job, but I'm curious what line of work it is. I think you'd be brilliant as some kind of customer service. I'm sure you'd sort out their complaints in no time. I am in a customer facing role, and customer service is a large part of what I do. And I think I'm good at it. Julia Park says, could you see yourself living anywhere else in the UK world, and where? What is your favourite book, film and song? Wow. Okay, so I could see myself living in a more rural part of the UK, definitely. I absolutely loved Sunderland. I would never have thought that I would like to go up north that far, because chilly. But we went up in July during a heat wave, and maybe I got a false impression of how lovely it is. But I loved Sunderland. It was so nice. The beach was beautiful. I didn't even think of northern beaches as being appealing, but it was absolutely glorious. So that was a surprise to me. I have looked at rural Scotland and thought, would it be nice to live out in the sticks up there? And the answer is probably not. It would probably be too rural for me. Bits of Devon and Cornwall are beautiful, but generally just somewhere a little bit country. A country town is the dream. Anywhere else in the world, well, I'd like to have, a holiday home in the Maldives. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? And a private jet to get there. My favourite book, film and song. My favourite books are the Terry Pratchett Discworld series. Could I pick you a favourite from within that? Witches Abroad is probably my favourite from within that series. My favourite film, I really like Grease 2. I really like Grease 2. I don't know if it's my favourite, but I do like it. And I've seen Dirty Dancing about 18 million times. Again, are they my favourites? I don't know. I don't know if I have strong favourites with films. And my favourite song, I don't have a favourite song particularly, but I always put Meatloaf Paradise by the Dashboard Light on when I'm changing the bed. This is from user 28594, anonymous. If you're Prime Minister for the day, what would your top 3 things to change be? Oh, we could be here a long time. My top 3 things to change if I was Prime Minister for the day. I've only got one day. Okay, firstly, I would deal with the gas and electricity companies and ask them what the hell they think they're playing at with their price rises all the time. Secondly, I would deal with the supermarkets who are still increasing the price of food willy-nilly despite recording massive profits year on year, massive increases in profits, and yet food is still going up. I think it's the stranglehold that people have on the things you can't do without. In 2025, we can't do without food and we can't do without gas and electricity, despite the fact that we did perfectly all right without it in 1925. Anyway, I think, I would deal with that kind of stranglehold that companies have. I would immediately issue an edict to build a lot more public social housing. And I would... Oh, and I would deal with the rental market. There you go. That's my third thing. I would deal with the rental market, and I would immediately stick a cap on how much you can charge per square footage, irrespective of where the home is and how many people you can put in one house. So I would deal with private landlords. I would immediately say that this is going to be so unpopular with some people, you can only own 2 homes. You can only own the one you live in and 1 to rent out for income. That's it. You can't own more than 2. That would put the cat among the pigeons, wouldn't it? I don't really want the job of Prime Minister. I'm going to call this one here. And if you ask me a question on Instagram or on Facebook, then I'm going to put those in a separate video, because this is already quite long. I've already rambled on quite a lot. So if you've asked me a question on Instagram or Facebook, there'll be in a separate video, and that'll come out after this one. This one's coming out Friday. The separate video will come out Monday. Okay, thank you so much for joining me for this one. I hope you'll come back for the next one. I'll see you on Monday. Bye for now.